I was pondering upon what video to make after my marching band video, in my totally real authentic night helmet and concert black uniform. And then I had an epiphany. What if I made a video about orchestra? But that was much too vague. And then I decided to start researching classical composers, and threw all my research away when I remembered, wait, Paganini exists, and he is magnificent. I should talk about him. And then I started reading about Paganini. Was a nice fall day in Genoa, Italy, on October 27th, 1782. Teresa Paganini gave birth to a healthy baby, Niccolò Paganini. Paganini started playing mandolin at age 5. You thought I was going to say violin, didn't you? Well, he eventually moved to violin 2 years later at the age of 7. His parents quickly acknowledged his skills, and because of how good he was, he got numerous different scholarships for lessons and studied under many different local lesson teachers, but the little child's skills quickly outpaced theirs. Because of his skills, him and his father traveled to Parma to seek a new lesson teacher. They found this guy, who then redirected him to Fernando Per after seeing this kid was way out of their league. But even then, he was so good, Per turned him over to his lesson teacher, Gasparo Giretti. France invaded northern Italy in March of 1796. Because of this invasion, the political state of Genoa became unstable, so Paganini moved to a different place. This town was called Bolzaneto. While in Bolzaneto, he discovered the guitar. He mastered the guitar, as Paganini does, but preferred to play it exclusively intimate rather than in public concerts. Then, Paganini and his dad moved again to another town in Italy called Livorno, where Paganini played in concerts and his dad resumed work. In 1801, Paganini, who was but 18 years of age, was appointed first violin in the Republic of Lucia. But despite being the best violinist in the Republic of Lucia, he got most of his money from other things like freelancing. After all, his fame as a violinist was only matched by his reputation as a gambler. In 1805, Lucia was annexed by Napoleonic France, and the region was ceded to Napoleon's sister, Elisa Bonaparte. Paganini became a violinist for the court, while giving private lessons to Elisa's husband for 10 years. 2 years later, in 1807, became the Grand Duchess of Tuscany, and her court was transferred to Florence, Italy. Paganini was part of the entourage, but towards the end of 1809, he left to resume his freelance career. For the next few years, Paganini returned to touring in the areas around Italy and Genoa. Although being famous in the area, he wasn't really well known throughout the rest of Europe. That was until he performed in Milan, Italy in 1813. The concert was wildly successful. Because of this concert, he started to gain traction throughout Europe. He then started a tour that lasted for 4 years. He stopped at every major city in Germany, Poland, and Bohemia. Shortly after these cities, he then moved on to Britain and France. His ability to play and his eagerness to do so received major critical acclaim. Along with his own compositions, theme and variations being the most popular, Paganini also performed modified versions of works, primarily concertos, written by his early contemporaries. Now, since this was the 17 and 1800s, Paganini was no stranger to chronic illnesses and diseases. It has been heavily theorized that he may have had MFS. MFS was a genetic disorder that affects connective tissue. Paganini's extravagant and luxurious lifestyle may or may not have affected his poor health. He was also afflicted with syphilis as early as 1822. Now, his remedy to fix this was mercury and opium. In 1834, he was treated for tuberculosis, probably from all that opium and mercury he was putting in his body. Now obviously, the same year, he put an end to his concert career. He then spent his time trying to publicize his compositions and violin methods. In 1835, Paganini returned to Parma, this time under the employ of Archduchess Marie Louise of Austria, Napoleon's second wife. He was put in charge of reorganizing her court orchestra, but he eventually conflicted with the players and the court, so his visions never saw completion. In 1836, he tried setting up a casino. Its almost immediate failure left him in financial ruin. He auctioned off a lot of his personal belongings, including musical instruments, just to gain some money back. In Christmas of 1838, he left Paris for Marseille, and after a brief stay, traveled to Nice, where his condition worsened. In May of 1840, the Bishop of Nice sent Paganini a local parish priest to perform the last rites. Paganini assumed the sacrament was premature and refused. Unfortunately, a week later, on May 27th, 57-year-old Paganini died of internal hemorrhaging before a priest could be summoned. Since a priest could not be summoned, the belief that he was affiliated with the devil was born. The Catholic Church denied him burial in Genoa and took 4 years and an appeal to the Pope before his body could be transported to Genoa. But even then, he still wasn't buried. It wasn't until 1876 when Paganini's body was finally buried in a cemetery in Parma. His body was then relocated in 1896 to a different cemetery in Parma. And that was that. That was the video. Paganini was regarded as one of the best violinists in the history of the world. He was not only known for his playing, but he was also known for those compositions that he made. He wrote upwards of 250 compositions. This video was entirely made from Wikipedia, also known as the best information website in the world. I wrote this script in less than an hour and a half at 3 a.m. I really like making classical music-based content, because that's what I specialize in. I play the oboe and the mellophone, and that's why this video I'm talking about classical music. And the last video, that's why I talked about marching band. Maybe you should talk about classical composers more. Let me know. Also let me know if I made any incorrect statements or left anything out. Goodbye. See you later.